Welcome to the Boom Bap Kingdom. Yo, peace and welcome to the Boom Bap Kingdom. We're here, we're chilling. You know I had to do it. I gotta take a few minutes and talk about that LM drum from Behringer. A lot of chit chatter going on about how dope it's gonna be, etc., etc. Back in the days, around 1988, I actually used the Lin drum when I produced a record for a hip hop crew coming out of the Southeast. I'm not going to get into all the details, but I used the actual Lin drum to produce drums on that track. And then I want to say we definitely did some cuts and scratches in there. We used turntables to loop samples. We did a bass line on, I want to say it was the Yamaha DX7. I'm familiar with the Lin drum 2, the Lin 9000, all of those being the precursor to the famous Akai MPC 60 brought to us by Roger Lin. I'm kind of curious as to why Behringer thought that would be a good idea. I know a while back they did a project where they rebuilt an old Lin drum maybe a year or two ago, might be a little more than that. And that project picked up a lot of steam, a lot of comments, and I'm pretty sure that's probably what spawned the project. Nonetheless, I personally was kind of excited about this rebirth of the Lin drum from Behringer. However, when I looked at the specs, I was a little disappointed. So let's just get into it. So Behringer with their LM drum, which is a Lin drum remake with a modern twist. They're boasting an 8 and 12-bit sample engine. They state that it's going to come with 109 classic samples. They've been making these drum libraries for a little while. Behringer calls them LM, but they're all based off the Lin drum series from Roger Lin. You guys can go to Behringer.com and get all of the specs. It's a great price point, $399. If you want some classic sounding sampler, I think it's a good conversation piece in the studio. Looks really vintage, really classic. All of that is cool. However, here at the Boom Bap Kingdom, we are a dollar to feature ratio production situation. I don't really just impulse buy. It's kind of interesting, the timing being we're on the cusp of Christmas and then here they come. Sounds like almost like they took a page out of the teenage engineering book with the KO2. With all of that being said, for me, the specs are decent, but for me, where there was a red flag was the storage. If it's a sampler, a workstation, whatever, that does not have an SD card slot or room for an SSD drive, it kind of defeats the purpose unless it's really, really cool and niche, which the LM drum may be. The storage limitation, 8 songs, 128 patterns, is interesting. They never really truly boast what the actual storage capacity is. When you look at machines that are comparably priced, I will say Lo-Fi 12XT, Roland SP404 Mark II, give or take 100 or so dollars. You're looking at a lot of storage, a lot of power versus something that may sound really good, but has that storage limitation. For me, that's the big limitation. Now, you guys may be saying, "Hey, yo, Boom Bap Kingdom, you're a bit of a hypocrite because you did pick up a KO2. KO2 storage, File transfer, not good. I don't like that. I don't like how you have to go through a, web MIDI based file transfer online with your computer, et cetera, et cetera. I don't care for any of that. The LM drum is very similar, and I don't like that. Therefore, for me, I don't use that on my KO2. I pretty much put everything in Koala Sampler and then sample it into the KO2. Now, you could do the same thing with the LM drum. So we'll get into some of the specs. We're talking about analog circuitry, which is really, really dope. They're using VCF and VCA filters for what they're calling unsurpassed warmth. They have 16 digital analog converters, 8 and 12-bit resolution. That 12-bit resolution is 24K. So my belief is, depending on the circuitry, it's probably going to sound pretty warm and pretty punchy. Graphic display is very similar to that of an Octatrack, a Digitac. It has that electron look. So I find that very, very interesting. It claims to have an effect engine, something called Wave Designer. I would imagine is some sort of sound design engines, probably using some kind of synthesis type of engine. 16 pads, much like most of these groove boxes of today. Does come with a headphone jack, which is a plus. There are a lot of things to like about it. For me, I'm wondering, because of the lack of storage, will that make it underpowered? It's a very interesting situation. What also has me really thinking about this is the vintage explosion. Started with the SP1200 clones, and then Rossum comes back with his, and then you have this entrance into vintage Roger Lynn machines. I think that's very interesting, and I'm wondering if down the line we'll see a rebirth of an MPC 60 or a 3000. I think the market would be very interested in that, given the fact when you look at Lo-Fi 12 XT and you look at Isla S2400, the MKS Rec 1, Rossum's SP 1200 reissue. Now we have the LM drum from Behringer. You really start to think and wonder, what is it about these vintage machines that have the modern era enamored? Why do they want to recapture that sound? I know because I'm from the era. I've been making beats since 82. I was programming drum machines and worked my way all the way up to, where I'm at now, and a combination. I've seen it all come and go. So it's very interesting to me why they're holding on to the 12-bit aesthetic, the Sonics, that 12-bit, 12 kilohertz, 24 kilohertz, that sound. It's still highly sought after. Now, that's my sound of choice. Not that I wouldn't stray and do something at 16 bits, 44.1 or higher resolution. That's perfectly fine if you are getting a dope end result. But it's something about this 12-bit, 24 kilohertz resolution, that sample rate is highly sought after. And I want you guys to get in those comments and tell me what you think. Why is that? Is it because the golden era sound for hip hop was just so prevalent, and nowadays, because the sonics are so electronic and perhaps static, maybe they want to re-inject that into the music? Or is it just a gimmick? I'm wondering, is this just a gimmick? Is it just a selling point? Hey, 12-bit this, 12-bit that. Is this just a gimmick and a selling point because us, the producer consumer, believes that's the aesthetic. The thing that they don't tell you, and I'm telling you because I was there, I was a professional recording engineer in those days. I engineered a lot of sessions for a lot of MCs in the 90s in New York, which is obviously the accent gave it away, right? But in those days, what these people that produce these samplers are not telling you is the EQs that were used, the compressors that were used, the actual mixing boards and the consoles that were used. They're not telling you that we were running Ampex 456 reel to reels. Ampex tape was the standard in those days. So when you start to think about, and like the SPX 90 was very prevalent in those days. So when you start to combine the machine, right, whether it's an MPC 60, an SP 1200, or what have you, could have even been an Ensoniq. I was a heavy Ensoniq guy in those days. When you combine the machine with the outboard gear of the era, the tape, all of that is what created the sound. Please understand, it's not just a 12-bit sampler that's going to give you that real true golden era sound. However, I'm curious as to what you guys think about the LM drum from Behringer. Get in those comments and let me know. Is this something you would buy? Are you interested in it? Did it pique your curiosity? I'm hoping to hear some dope beats and get some feedback. Behringer, you guys should send me one. You see, I got a lot of your guys' stuff. Holla at, come on, get at me. Nonetheless, I appreciate you guys, man. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, get in those comments, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget, hit that notification bell so you know when I post. And we'll get back to making some beats on camera really, really soon. I appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna give you everybody out there a BBK salute. Peace.